everyone. So today I wanted to do a little something different. I wanted to do a video that demonstrates the evolution of the Pullip body and just the dolls in general. I wanted to do this for a long time, so um, just wanted to do this real quick. So Pullip body has had a change in the last several years compared to when she first came out. So I am going to start by talking about, the type 1 body, then the type 2 body, the type 3, and the type 4. And then I will talk briefly on the new eye mechanism. So this video is going to be on both the evolution of Pullip's body and the eye mechanism, okay? So I'm just going to give you, as much detail and information that I know regarding these doll bodies over the years, okay? So right here to the left, we have Pullip Leproto. She is a type 1 Pullip doll. Pullip, at this time, she was released, I would say, in the early, like in 2004, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong with that. But the thing, as you can see, is different here is that her bust at this time was very huge. You can see very visible screws, okay? And her neck, I'm very even scared to touch her, was very weak. So at this point in time, Pullip's body was very fragile. Her neck was very weak, and dolls that had a lot of volume and wigs were known to cause it to break. So the neck would be easily, it was able to break. I can't even talk. Another thing that was different with the type 1 Pullip is that their wigs were actually, the scalp was actually attached. So it was not like the ones that we have now that you could like rip out the wig and you could take it out. With these, it was not like that. This, if you wanted to re-wig an older doll, you actually practically had to break open the skull to even achieve that and put a wig, and it was basically a huge mission. But I would never recommend that because, again, the necks were easily breakable. Another defect with the type 1 body Pullip doll is that their legs were known to crack easily, and this was something that would naturally happen. You could even open a brand new doll and you would get her like this. Her body is also very big. So if you compare her to like a type 4, for example, that I have here, Ali, you could see the differences in bust and in body. She was just a bit more big, and again, the screws are visible everywhere. She had large feet. I'm even scared to like hold her. Large feet. And she was very hard to pose because her body was practically very stiff. I'm scared. Her body was practically a little bit stiff. And she was just the most fragile. And just for reference, in case you wanted to know what doll this is Pullip Leproto. Okay? Then things change in 2004, I believe a little bit later, in 2004, where the type 2 body was made debut. Type 2 body was a little bit different in type 1, that the torso, as you see here, was made out of rubber. It was different, it's soft, and this one is a little bit more, solid. That actually is normal, guys. She could be posed like that. And look at the back. That's not really attractive. So with the type 2 body, we had more of a soft torso. The neck was a little bit more improved. It was a little bit more harder. And then we had the change in body that we no longer had visible screws like we have in type 1. In the type 2 body, the limbs were actually able to be detached. So the legs, even the arms, okay, and the hands were a little bit more user-friendly. You could move them a little bit more. She was still a little bit more big in body. She didn't have really she was not really petite as the Pullip that we're used to today, but The problem with the type 2 body that we saw is we called it the body melt. The problem with the body melt is that since the torso is made out of rubber, it was known to melt. And through time, things like this would happen. It would come off and it would look kind of scary. You would think that your doll's about to break. So that was not really one of the best things that we had back at that time. Underneath this rubber thing, she does have like a plastic part. So it's not like if this comes off, she's going to fall apart. But she was not easily, you were not able to easily pose her because you would be afraid to break her. One of the other things about this doll too is that I wanted to mention is the chemicals of this plastic here, the torso. If you left it connected to, let's say, I don't know, Leproto or another doll, this will melt and damage the plastic. So can you imagine that if you forgot and you like mistakenly left it on top of another doll, this would be damaged right off the bat. It'll be very, very damaged. Other issues that we had, like I said, is the tummy tuck problem. And then sometimes the hands also would fall off on their own. So the body was pretty much more floppy as compared to this one. Okay. What else would I would like to say? The wigs were different. We no longer had like the scalp issue that we had here. This was easily more able to re-wig her, even though she had there's like two parts of her scalp. It's not like this one. So even though it was easier to re-wig her, you would still have to go through a process, especially if you wanted to like change her eye chips. You would have to unscrew this here, and it was a process. Type 2 bodies was a little bit more of an improvement compared to type 1, but at the same time, like I said, it had its issues. And just in case you wanted to know, this is Pullip Alice, the original, not the regeneration version that we got later on. I didn't even show you how big her feet are. And don't worry, you could put these parts back. And like I said, some of these, depending on some releases, these were very floppy and like your doll will fall apart. This was like my least favorite, I would say, and Pullip body. Then we have the type 3 body, which my model here is Pullip Celsi. So the difference now with the body for a type 3 is that she was a little bit more easier to pose. So she had the movement here, the free movement that you would see in the type 1. And her neck was actually also more improved. Her breast, as you could see, all of this was no longer this rubber soft torso anymore. And then we had the new issue of the cracked wrist, where the wrists, you were limited on how you can move your doll because the wrists were easily able to break off. So we did improve on some aspects, but in others we didn't make any improvements on that area with Pullip. But body wise, this was the improvement, significant improvement, because she was a little bit more stronger. Let's see if I could move her. She's a little bit more stronger, but still a little bit stiff to pose. And now when it comes to rewigging her, it was actually a lot more easier. You could just pull out her wig, and it was easier to change it. And then you could put another wig. Then later on, we have the type 4 body, which my model here is Pullip Ali. Pullip Ali, as you could see, type 4 body is actually the most thinnest one. Let me put this a little bit higher. Is actually the most thinnest one out of all the other Pullip. So she's a bit skinnier. And then they changed the wrist issue. Okay, so now we have this hand, which is still not really that poseable, but overall I would say that type 4 is the significant improvement of all the other 3 type bodies that we have. And then we have the same thing kind of like we have in type 2, where we could remove, I can remove her limbs. You could remove her limbs easier. not the feet. The feet, if you remove this will break on type 4. And then type 2, I don't know if you, let me see if you could take this off. I believe you can. Yeah, you can. So that's the difference there. And then rewigging a type 4 pull-up doll is the easiest, as well as changing her eye chips if you wanted. It's very easy. Now, talking on the eye chip, that's another thing that I wanted to show you all, again with the evolution of pull-up, is the eye chips. So let's go back to type 1. So with the type 1 pull-up, this is how it looked like from behind. Let me see if I could, I'm like scared to put her on top of her because of the whole, let me see. So this is how, she has a lot of hair. So this is how it looks like, okay? And so the lever was the bit the same, but the only thing you could do with a type 1 is just make her wink, okay? So there was none of that whole function that you could keep her eyes closed if you wanted. Then with the type 2, it was basically the same thing. The first couple releases of type 2, it was the same thing. You could only move their eyes left and right. Oh my goodness, it's hard to do this with one hand. You could move her eyes left and right and then make them wink. Later releases in type 2 body allowed you to close their eyes a little bit. So I'm not sure which release that started, but that midway through the type 2 body, we were able to have that function where you could close their eyes. And then with the type 3 body, we had the sleeping function. Well, I'll call it the sleeping function, or keeping the eyes closed. So that started most all type 3 dolls had that. I believe the first release with the type 3 body pull-up was Pullip Lang Ai, I believe that was her name, the 2 Asian dolls. And then of course with type 4 that continued. You know, you can move their eyes left and right, close their eyes. Okay, and then now I have here one of our newer pull-ups, Luminous, which she was released early this year, and it's just very exciting that I've been collecting for all these years, and you know, I'm able to share this with you all. She has the new eye function. I believe the doll that came out with that function was Pullip Cheshire Cat. I'm mispronouncing that, I know that, but I don't have her right now in front of me, so I wanted to show you with her. So with this version now, with Pull-up of this year, she still has a type 4 body, but the function is now we could close the eye. Wait, let me see if I could do this. So she could close the eye. She could, okay, where is it? She could close it if she wanted a little. Oh my goodness, it's hard to do this with one hand. Let me open this one and see if I could do it with this one. So she could close it a little, or she could completely close it. Oh my goodness, they get stuck. I guess when both of them are like that, you can't have both of them like that at the same time. Or she could close them. So that is the difference now with the type 4 body now, and this is the year 2017. So I just wanted to make this, you know, very short video on the Pullip body evolution. I don't know what your thoughts are on the bodies. Which one is your favorite? I honestly, the one I dislike the most, it'll be type 1, because I don't know, she just looks so robotic with all these nails, the screws, I'm sorry, showing, and then the fragile neck. Type 2, you know, is still not my favorite either because of the whole torso issue. I think my favorite dolls preferably would be type 3 and type 4. Honestly, I think the best body type would be if we had like a hybrid of like type 4 and type 3. Like I would say if we had a doll with, I don't know, I would say type 3 body with the wrist of a type 4, that would be like magnificent. I think that would be great. And of course with the new iMac, but that's just my opinion. I don't know, what do you all think? I just wanted to, like I said, just do this video. I really, ever since like they released the new iMac, I was like, I really gotta do this so you all could see the differences. I hope you all found this helpful, and let me know if you want me to do this with the easels or Dow or Taiyang, so I could compare all the Pullip family. But I wanted to foremost really start with the Pullip because it's the most body changes that we have from all these years. So now you know their pros and their cons. So yeah, y'all let me know if you have any questions, or yeah, I hope you all found this very helpful, and thank you so much for watching. All right, bye.